The relationship between Canada and the United States has been thrown into turmoil under President Trump's renewed trade war, with tariffs, retaliatory measures, and even the threats of annexation clouding diplomatic ties with its neighbour. And as Prime Minister Mark Carney prepares to assume office, he faces an immediate and formidable challenge in navigating a new trade agreement while safeguarding Canada's sovereignty. Trump's decision to impose a blanket 25% tariff on steel and aluminium imports from Canada has exacerbated tensions between the two countries, and this measure, justified under the pretext of national security, has been met with widespread criticism given Canada's status as the largest foreign supplier of these materials to the US. Carney has made it clear that Canada will not stand idle, and in response, Ottawa has introduced a $29.8 million retaliatory tariff on US imports, targeting key industries and products, including steel, aluminium, tools, and electronics. And this aggressive countermeasure aims to pressure Washington into reconsidering its protectionist stance. Despite the economic pain such tariffs inflict on both sides, Carney has signalled openness to negotiations, provided there is respect to Canadian sovereignty. However, with Trump's unpredictable approach, threatening to double tariffs before backtracking just hours later, the path to a stable agreement remains uncertain. The deepening trade conflict carries significant economic risks. Experts warn that prolonged hostilities could lead to economic instability, with Canadian businesses and consumers facing rising costs and potential job losses. The Bank of Canada's preemptive interest rate cut from 3% to 2.75% underscores the seriousness of the situation, reflecting concerns about an impending showdown. And Trump's trade war is also shaping political dynamics on both sides of the border. In Canada, Carney's firm stance against Trump has bolstered his political standing, capitalizing on widespread national resentment towards the US. And economic aggression is being countered by Carney's defiance as he enters the prime ministerial office. Conversely, Trump's aggressive tactics have sparked bipartisan criticism within the US, with business leaders warning that alienating a critical trade partner could backfire economically and diplomatically. And in the middle of all these tensions, King Charles III has reaffirmed his support for Canada, a constitutional monarchy where he remains head of state. In a meeting with senior Canadian officials from the Parliament at Buckingham Palace, the King expressed his deepest affection for Canada, a gesture interpreted as a subtle diplomatic backing in the middle of Trump's threats to annex the country. And while the monarch remains politically neutral, his symbolic presence as a global statesman provides Canada with a diplomatic advantage. His recent interactions, including meetings with the outgoing Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and with the Ukrainian President Zelensky, suggest an increasing willingness to engage in international affairs, even within the limits of his constitutional role. Trump's frustration with the King's engagements is palpable. Reports indicate that he was irked by Charles's meeting with Zelensky, perceiving it as an attempt to diminish his own influence. And moreover, Trump's apparent disregard for Canada's constitutional structure, referring to its border as a fictional line, reflects his dismissive attitude towards international norms. Canada has several options in responding to Trump's trade war and diplomatic provocations. It can maintain tariffs until the US agrees to fair trade, which is probably a likely strategy, ensuring that Canada doesn't appear weak in negotiations. It can strengthen alliances with the European Union, the UK, and Asia to reduce economic reliance on the US while creating leverage in trade discussions. It can seek WTO arbitration to challenge Trump's tariffs, so the efficiency of such measures remains uncertain given the US's historical disregard for WTO rulings under Trump. And it can leverage international support and domestic unity to present a stronger force, a stronger front to Trump's erratic trade policies. Canada finds itself at a crucial juncture. facing economic and diplomatic aggression from a US president who views trade as a zero-sum game. Carney's leadership will be tested as he seeks to balance economic pragmatism with national security and with national sovereignty. Meanwhile, King Charles's subtle but significant gestures of support provide Canada with an additional layer of diplomatic backing. And Trump's frustration, whether over trade negotiations, diplomatic snubs, or perceived slights to him personally, is likely to abate soon. What remains clear is that Canada will not be intimidated into submission. Its economic resilience and its diplomatic alliances will shape the outcome of this high-stakes confrontation.